Now, back here at home, the Transport Secretary, Chris Grayling, has warned the UK could see a rise in political extremism if MPs block the Prime Minister's Brexit deal. In an interview with the Daily Mail, Mr Grayling said the 17 million people who voted for the UK to leave the EU would feel cheated by any attempt to water down or stop Theresa May's deal. Meanwhile, thousands of people are expected to march through central London today, demanding a general election. Well, with us now is our political correspondent, Tom Barton. And Tom, let's start with those comments from the Transport Secretary, Chris Grayling. Just tell us a little bit more about what he's warning against, I guess.
Well, after a week where we've had the Business Secretary, Greg Clark, and the Work and Pension Secretary, Amber Rudd, warning about the consequences of a no-deal Brexit, you've got today a Brexiteer warning about the consequences of Brexit not happening, or a very soft version of Brexit happening. Chris Grayling saying that if a true Brexit isn't delivered, one which stops membership of the single market, membership of the customs union, but also ends free movement, he says it would open the door to extremist, populist political forces, and says, well, you know, he stops well short of saying there might be riots. He does say people should not underestimate the significance of what could happen, saying that there could be a different tone in our politics, a less tolerant society and a more nationalistic nation.
Now, as you say, this is all ahead of the vote on Theresa May's proposed Brexit deal, which we're expecting in the House of Commons on Tuesday. I suppose the first question is that vote really going to go ahead?
That's, we think, this time 5 weeks ago, we thought the vote was going to go ahead, and it didn't. Even that morning, we thought it was going to go ahead,
yeah.
and it didn't. So, you know, I'm going to stop very short of saying it's going to for sure, but at the moment, yeah, we absolutely expect it to.
So, assuming it goes ahead, what are the chances of her deal going through? Because the mood music is pessimistic, isn't it?
Pessimistic, to put it lightly. You know, there is almost nobody outside government or frankly inside government who truly thinks that the Prime Minister is going to get her deal approved on Tuesday night. But there is a question about what MPs will end up voting on, because before we get to the meaningful vote, as it's known, the final vote in the process, there will be votes on a series of amendments. We don't know how many. It was limited to 6 last time. There isn't going to be that limit this time. It's down to John Bercow to select which amendments are voted on. But if any of
the Speaker of the House,
the Speaker of the House, absolutely. And if any of those amendments are approved, then it changes the text of the final vote. And of course, there are amendments across the full range, from ones which are designed to wreck Brexit altogether and stop it from happening, to ones which are designed to force the government towards a much harder Brexit. And you know, any of those, in theory, could pass through. The question is, you know, is there a majority in the House for any one of those? If one of those passes, then the final vote will be on something different. If they don't, well, it will be on the Prime Minister's text. Either way, you know, the Prime Minister is probably heading for some sort of a defeat on Tuesday night, unless she can find a compromise which gets enough MPs on board to make it at least look like a victory.
Meanwhile, we've got 2 marches today, one in Sheffield campaigning for another referendum, one in London calling for a second general election. How likely are either of those marches to achieve their aims?
Well, you know, pretty unlikely in the round, but politics is so volatile at the moment that, you know, anybody would be crazy to say that anything is completely off the table. You know, the People's Vote campaign for another referendum has generated momentum and headlines in recent months, but you know, all of the 2 biggest political parties are vehemently opposed to that idea. As for a general election, well, the difficulty for Jeremy Corbyn, who wants another general election, is that while the DUP will line up with Theresa May to try to stop that, it looks very, very difficult for him to force that issue.
OK, Tom Barton, our political correspondent, thanks.